Hello everyone, I'm Mr. South. This is my glamorous assistant for today, Mr. Porter. We are full lesson in 10 PE and today we are looking at sprinting. So we're going to start off by giving a full range of lesson objectives and then you can pick the ones that suit the ability of your class. So here they are. Okay, so that went by quite quickly. If you need to take a more detailed look, then just pause the video. Now we're going to look at what we're going to do for the warm-up.
Okay, so this is how I would set up the sprint lesson. Obviously, if you've got a track, then use the lanes in the 100-meter sprint section. That'll be a lot easier for you. But without that, this is how we can set up. Notice the blue gates at the end of our made-up lanes. They are there to get the students running in a straight direction. Without those gates, students tend to veer off, which obviously will slow them down. For a sprint lesson, obviously this is a very dynamic activity, so we need just a basic dynamic warm-up. Now, that dynamic warm-up can relate back to the activity, because if you do things such as high knees, then that's a chance for you to discuss why this would be important in your correct sprinting technique. So I'll put some questions up on the video as some ideas of what you could ask to get students to start thinking about what a sprint technique should look like. For the warm-up, I'm just going to get the students to run round, do whichever movement I've suggested, and run round these cones so the next line of students can start before that first line finish. So it will look like this. The students will run round those circled areas and the next ones can go, and so on and so on and so on, so you can get through the warm-up a little bit quicker.
Okay, at this point we're going to start looking at acceleration, so trying to get the students to hit top speed as quick as possible. For me, without blocks, I would just do a stand-in start. If you've got blocks, brilliant, you can do a sprint start, and that will be effective. Without blocks, a stand-in start is more effective for students, certainly in key stage 3. So to demonstrate how important it is to get the driving force coming from behind you and get students to stay low, I like to do a little experiment which will look a bit like this. Right, so this is our experiment. What you're going to do is you're going to pick 2 students of about similar speed and you're going to set them up like this. So I'm going to be facing the finish line, legs straight out in front of me. Mark is facing away from the finish line, legs out in front of him. And you're going to ask the students who's going to win the race. You'll get a mixture of responses. A lot will assume that I'm going to win because I'm facing the finish line. Now, when you do the experiment, you'll show that that's not the case. So ready, on your marks, get set, go. Okay, so as you can see by that demonstration, what we want the students thinking about is the fact that they've got to get the power from their legs pushing the students forward. So a couple of technique points that you're going to need to cover in the first drill is that from a stand-in start, all our weight is on our front foot and that first step is forwards. What a lot of students do is their first step is back to get themselves in the right position with their legs pushing them forward, but really to get a good start you need that first step forward. So they're 2 key points to start off with. Then throughout the drill, use your questioning skills, see the link down below, to get out further technique points. So other technique points you want to cover are keeping the elbow at a 90-degree angle, and then arms should be pumped hard from hip to lip, like so. And then those first strides, they should be short in length. So short strides to start with to gain that momentum, and then as you slowly come into an upright position, then your stride length gets longer. So all of those points you can gradually, not all at one time, gradually put into drill 1, which we will explain here.
This animation will demonstrate how we do the acceleration challenge part of the lesson, where we're going to see how far students can get in a certain period of time. Notice that I've got a pile of cones placed here and here. Cones of different colors because they're going to be used to mark where students get to and again record their personal best. So I'm going to get the first line of students to come up and stand in a position where they can assess the next student in their group. So students will cheat if left to their own devices. It's very hard for them to record their own score here. So a level of peer assessment, use the students to monitor each other and get accurate results. So these students are in place, and then our next batch of students are going to be ready for the challenge. Now here, I want to see how far they can get in a period of time. The higher the ability and generally the quicker the class, the shorter time you need to spread their results out. So if I have a low ability class that I'm not expecting to get too far in a period of time, then I would give them 4 seconds to see how far they can get. So as a general rule, 4 seconds for a low ability group, 3 seconds for a higher ability group. So these students on the side are going to be armed with a cone ready to mark where their peer gets to. So the students will sprint, they will reach a certain point after 4 seconds where I would signal when that time is up. The students then mark where their peer got to with a cone that's out the way of where the students are sprinting. So just down the side of each lane, they will mark where that student got. So throughout drill 1, you've started putting in all the technique points. So now we're going to put it into practice with some differentiated races. So after the students have had a number of attempts to beat their personal best, then we start to get an idea of who are going to be the quickest students, and we can group them together. So I'm going to pick up the furthest 6 cones, and I'm going to ask those students to stand up, and those students will then go and sit behind the cone resembling League 1. I'd then pick up the next 6 cones, and those students will sit in League 2, and so on and so on. So we have nice differentiated races that should be fairly competitive. We're not going to run a full 100 meters at this stage. There'll be shorter races that we can do 2 or 3 times. Now, if we use a ladder system in this, it means students can still move up and down between groups. So the winner of League 5 will move up to League 4. The loser, or the person that comes last in League 4, will move down to League 5, and so on. Then at the end of the lesson, we can have a 100 meter race with very close and competitive groupings. And it also gives us data to update our progress tracker. So I would do my register at the end of the lesson, and I'd ask students to reply with what league they finished in. I've then got a note of this, and I can update my tracker. So you should have had time to have plenty of races there, which would have naturally differentiated your students, so that hopefully if you've got a 100 meter track, you can go on to finish the lesson with 100 meter races, and the students should be in groups of similar ability. So if you have that opportunity, then students can get a time and then compare that to either English schools data or whatever data your school are using, and then set themselves a personal best that they can then try and beat in maybe your athletics club. Good luck. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you have, then please follow us for more videos. See you soon.